Today's practice is about possibility, about seeing the possibility in each moment. And when we think of possibility, we might think of, the quote I shared this morning was, don't tell me the sky's the limit when there's footprints on the moon. So possibility of like we limit ourselves. And you might think that a physical practice of possibility is about reaching beyond, about really stretching. But I'd like to offer the opposite today. And this is going to feel strange, but I'd like to offer this quote as a contemplation for today's practice. Surrender to the force that allows tiny acorns to become giant oak trees. The force that turns a tiny seed into a blooming flower. The force that turns a microscopic dot into a human being. So as we think about that right now, at this very moment in the cold climate, at least where I live, there are bulbs, there's seeds deep in the frozen earth, waiting for the perfect moment to start to unfold. They're not pushing, they're not forcing, they're probably not anxious. They're waiting for the right temperature and the right conditions to emerge into what they're meant to be. But I believe that they know of the possibility. I believe that nature knows that in this waiting, in this holding, there is the possibility of a giant oak tree, or a tulip, or a rose bush. So this morning, as we practice, I'd like you to consider the act of holding in. So everybody do this. Bend your elbow and squeeze your fist up by your shoulder. And feel that tightness, like here at the bend of the elbow, if you were squeezing your finger, like there's tightness here inside the fold. But while we're holding that, guess what's happening? This back of the arm is being stretched. It's being passively opened. Not like this, not like I really want to stretch my triceps, so I'm really going to exaggerate, but just in the holding itself, a stretch is allowed. So I'm going to ask us this morning to focus on the holding, the drawing in, much like that seed, in order to allow some opening to happen. Sound good? Okay. Let's go ahead and start in child's pose, which really is a pose of drawing in, of coming inward. If you have a block or a pillow, would you put it under your forehead? Something to support your head so there's really not a lot of effort to be here. Close your eyes and start to breathe here. And no particular kind of breath, just a breath that you can feel, that you can be aware of. You might take your knees a little wider. And let your arms come down to your sides by your legs. Fold yourself into this tiny little ball, symbolic of a child in the womb. That baby growing in the womb is possibility. At one time, it was the possibility of you. And there's patience here. There's trust. There's no rush. Take in deeper breaths through your nose and notice the folding at your hips and your knees. Be a little more aware of how that feels at the crease of your hips and the back of your knees. And notice that that is allowing a stretch or an unfolding around the back of your hips and the front of your thighs. Deepen your breath. With your eyes still closed, slowly crawl your hands underneath your shoulders and start to emerge from this position, lifting first your forehead and then coming up onto your hands, and really move in slow motion today, coming into a tabletop position. And with this same idea in mind, pull your navel to your spine and feel your abdominals crunching. Like if you were in the weight room doing crunches, feel the front of your body squeezing, which allows space in the back of your body. And then returning to neutral, we'll do the opposite. Contract the muscles in your back, which creates a soft stretch of the belly. And start to move like that with your breath. So focusing on the muscles contracting instead of the muscles stretching. You might find a different way to move here that feels interesting to you, maybe a little shifting sideways or back and forth. But focus on the parts of you that are closing or contracting to allow for an opening. And then we'll pause in this tabletop position again. Pick up your right knee just an inch off the floor and slide that knee toward your chin, creating, again, contraction in the belly, squeeze in the hip crease. And on the inhale, slowly peel that leg out to the wall behind you. Inhale here. And then exhale, again, squeeze. Notice the internal energy. And then just peel that open. No rush, no force. We'll do it one more time. And then that leg is long behind you. Let it cross over to the outside of your left knee and just feel contraction in the left side of your waist that allows a little space in the right. Take some deep breaths there. And return back to center. Find your neutral, belly hugs in. Start to round your spine and then draw the knee in. This coming inwards, squeeze tight. And then allow an unfolding as the leg reaches back. Breathe in here. We'll do that 2 more times. Drawing in and reaching out. With that leg extended, cross the leg over toward the right side. Feel a nice little side bend in your right waist. Contract those muscles, allowing the left side of the body to open. Breathe here. Be aware of your breath. Just watch breath. Nothing to do with it, just watch it. And then come back to a tabletop position. Tucking the toes under, slowly start to lift your hips up towards the sky. Come into downward facing dog. And let's make our down dog today a little more narrow. So hands are going to come back about 1 hand length. Knees are bent. And feel the hip crease. Feel the bend in the hips, allowing the stretch around the back of the body. Loosen up through your neck, nod your head yes, shake it no. And then just slowly bring your feet closer together so you can feel your big toes touching. Lift your heels and start to bring your hands closer to your feet. You're just going to listen to your body here. For some of us, this is a great place to stay, just this really bent knee forward fold. If you are feeling comfortable here and you want a little more, come down to a squat, a deep little crouchy squat over your feet. Maybe your heels lift off the ground. Again, you can wrap your arms around your legs. We're in this little seed-like position, feeling the squeeze of the muscles while allowing the opposite side opening. And then with fingertips on the floor, again, slowly peel your way out of that. And let's do that a couple of times, just slowly coming down into whatever kind of squat works in your body. If your knees don't love this deep bend, stay up a little higher. Come into as much of a crouch or a ball as you can, and then peel up. And then lengthen through the spine. Come to your neutral spine, hands to your shins, lift into your flat back. So you're standing at the back edge of your mat. With your knees soft, take a deep breath in, arms reach overhead, extended mountain. Awesome. Press in through your feet, lift up tall. And then be aware of your hip crease as you come back down. Forward fold. Let your fingertips come to the floor. Bend your knees and come down again into your crouch, your little seed-like position. Press your hands to the mat. Slowly peel the leg. Press to lengthen halfway, flat back. And then arms reach all the way up, extended mountain. Swan dive, forward fold, let your knees bend, come down into your most comfortable low squat, little seed-like squeeze. Let's come up again, lengthen the legs, press to the shins halfway, and sweep all the way up. And back down, forward fold. Bend your knees as much as you can, come down into your little squeeze position. And then whatever level you've come to, lengthen your spine and walk your fingers to the side of your leg so that you're in a twist. So if I'm up here a little bit higher, my twist might look like this. If I'm down in my deep squat, my twist might look like this. You can even wrap a hand behind your back. Coming through the center, let's go the other way. Hands to the side of you. If you're up a little higher, it will look more like this. Hand on a back, hand on a knee. If you're down here, it might look like a little wrap, like a basket. We'll return to center, slowly peeling the legs up once again. Hands to shins, lift halfway. Arms all the way up overhead, extended mountain. And bring your hands to your heart. Let your hips sink down into chair. I'm going to just turn to face you. So when we're sitting in chair, it's obvious that our muscles are working. So feel that. Feel your hip flexors holding you here while allowing a stretch around your glutes. Your knees are bent, so there's some muscle work happening in the back of the knees, but you're allowing a little stretch of your quads. Squeeze your hands together tightly. Make some strength happen through your chest. Sit a little lower, and then on your inhale, slow motion, inhale, up and open. Let that plant expand, and we'll come back in. Hands to heart, sink into the chair. Inhale, open. Exhale, sink. Start to use a little bit more of a whisper breath, that ujjayi breath. You can go a little bit faster if you like. Just do 2 more of these flowing chairs. Breathing in and open. Squeezing to close. Listening to your body, being aware of your breath. Let your arms open wide and all the way up overhead. Interlace your fingers here. Tilt your body to one side. Feeling, again, more aware of the contraction of the bending side, which allows the opening of the opposite side. Bring in a sense of patience. This holding, this waiting can be frustrating. Allow yourself to trust. Returning to center, lift nice and tall, and then lean toward the opposite side. Focusing on the strength of the holding, the waiting, allowing. There's not one thing in nature we can see that is impatient or forcing. Come back to center. Lower your hands to your sides and hinge from the hips down, forward fold. So we're still on the back of the mat. Let's press hands to shins, lift halfway. And on the exhale, downward facing dog. This time, second time through down dog, start to pedal your heels. Notice the crease of the hip, especially on the bent knee side, and just press into that crease. Notice the crease in your ankles as you press a heel down. One side is contracting while the other side is opening. Shifting forward into plank pose. Let's hold the core strong. We'll drop our knees to the mat. Spin the elbows and lower halfway down. Then melt your belly to the earth and inhale to cobra. Pause here. So noticing strength in the back of the body that allows opening in the front. Pause here. Patience. Holding. Let the working muscles work to allow the other side to release. And chin comes to the floor. Slowly pull your belly up and shift back again into child's pose. Head on the earth or a block. Let your arms again come down to your sides. And feel again this folding in. With hands by your shoulders, start to bring yourself back up slowly into tabletop. Toes tuck, hips lift, downward facing dog. With soft knees, bring your hands back back to your feet, or again on the back of the mat. Bend the knees and come down into whatever squat your body appreciates. Down into this little seed-like position. Slowly straightening the legs, press into half lift, and then sweep the arms up high, extended mountain. Interlace your fingers, shift to one side. Breathe into the side that feels strong. Allow the other side to open. And lift. Second side. Return to center. Let your arms come down to your sides. Step your feet a little bit wider and reach back to interlace your fingers, or imagine just grabbing a big beach ball behind you. You can open up your chest. Breathe here. Feel the strength of your upper back, allowing opening in the front. Choosing today, either stay here or hinge from the hips, come down into a wide forward fold, head down, knuckles high. If you chose fold, be aware of your hip crease and the strength of your upper back. Notice your breath. If you're in a forward fold, let your fingers come to the ground, press to shins, and we'll all meet back again in mountain pose. Arms overhead and hands to heart. Beautiful. So we're still standing on the back of our mat. Now our feet are a little bit wider. Inhale, arms reach. Cactus your arms and turn your toes out. So my heels are going to stay on the mat and my toes are off, so that we can come down into a little bit of a plie or kind of a goddess pose. I'd like you to keep the mat stretched out in front of you for this. So here. Again, noticing the muscles that are working in order to allow other muscles to open or lengthen. Feel your strength. Be aware of your breath. And then tilt your arms down. So the elbows are high. The fingers are pointed down, just turning again to face you. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, arms down. Hands down. We'll do that twice more. Shoulder strength and stability. Feeling the internal and the external muscles. And then lower the hands to the tops of the legs. Bring one shoulder across to the opposite side, and you can push with a straight arm into the inner knee. Strong chest allows an open back. Return to center and switch. Press on the inside of that knee. And coming back to center. Return your toes to point forward. Hinge from the hips and come back. Fingers to mat. Walking your hands forward, downward facing dog. Let's pedal the heels once again. Noticing the creases, the contractions that allow for opening. Shifting our bodies forward, dropping the knees. Spin your elbows lower, halfway down, and then all the way to the mat. Come up to cobra. Pause here again to feel the strength in the back, length in the front. Come Back up to tabletop, slide your way back. Child's pose, arms come to your sides. Round yourself back into this little ball. Breath awareness. Might rock side to side. Just a little gentle nestling in. And then bringing hands to the mat, tabletop position. Tuck your toes, lift again, downward facing dog. Walk your hands to meet your feet. And bend your knees into whatever squat your body invites. Down into as much of a little rounded position as your body allows. And then peel your hips back up. Press hands to shins, lift halfway. And slowly rise, extended mountain. Interlace your fingers, bend to one side. Come back to center and switch. And let's let our arms come down to the side of the body. We're going to find a balancing pose here. So start by standing on your right foot and pick up your left heel. You can use a chair or a wall for balance if that's helpful. We're going to pick that left knee all the way up and draw it in toward our chest. So you can hold behind the knee or in front of the knee. But we're going to squeeze. So we're going to squeeze at the hip, squeeze at the knee, lengthen the spine. Be aware of the holding. And balance always invites us to practice patience with ourselves. And when we learn patience with ourselves, we get better at being patient with each other and the world around us. Keep your leg where it is, release your hands. Let your leg do the work of holding. Feel the hip crease. And then slowly, super slow motion, let the foot come back to the earth. Pause, just pause in mountain pose for a moment. Feel your right, feel your left. Notice what a hip crease feels like after it has been closed and it's allowed to open. We'll switch sides. Put your weight in your left foot. Pick up your right heel. Shoulders are on your back. And then bring that knee up to the chest. Hold behind or in front of the knee, but squeeze tight. Plug in. Pause here. Be in the waiting. Be in the space in between where possibility exists. Here in this tight holding is the possibility for opening. Patience. Hold the knee in without your hands. Be aware of your breath. Patience is actually an effort, right? It's a discipline, it's a practice. Slowly, slowly, no rush. Come to standing and notice left and right. Let yourself exhale. Sweep your arms high. Swan dive, forward fold. Do that again. Sweep your arms high. Maybe a little back bend. Give yourself movement now. Forward fold. From the hips, lengthen the spine. Lift up. And lower down. Keep moving. Put a bend in your knees. Feel the opening. Feel the closing. Go 2 more times. The opening and the closing. And anytime there's an opening in muscles, it's because other muscles are closing, folding. Lower down. And let your hands again come forward into downward facing dog. Shifting forward into plank pose, drop your knees, spin your elbows, and lower yourself to the mat. Come up to cobra. If you'd like a little more, slide your thumbs, your hands back, and lift onto the tops of your feet, upward facing dog. Both great options. And let's meet in child's pose. Once again, head down, arms at the sides of the body, curling in on ourselves. Be aware of your breath. And the hands come to the shoulders. Lift and lengthen into a tabletop position. Bring your hips to one side and sweep yourself around into a seat. We'll take our legs straight out in front of us. Clear the flesh. Roll your shoulders onto your back. Find this shape called Dandasana, staff pose. So for some of us, especially if your back is hurting, this is an awesome place to stay. You could put something under your hips, under your knees, and just be here with this neutral spine, feeling a passive stretch in your hamstrings. But if you're getting the green light today, clear the flesh. Bring your arms up overhead. Reach as tall as you can. Shift your body slightly back. Engage your core. And then come back to neutral and fold forward. Reach forward as far as you can until you can touch your ankles, your calves, or your feet. And come down into a forward fold. Noticing the hip crease. For today, a fun option might be slide your hands under your knees and kind of hug the backs of your legs. That's forcing you to bend your knees a little. Draw your chin to your chest. Breathe here. Feel the hip crease, the belly contract, allowing the back of the body to open. Releasing your hands if they're underneath you. Take a hold of your feet, your shins, or maybe even your big toes. Lengthen your spine. Come to a flat back. Pull your chest forward, chin lift slightly, and fold a little deeper. Let your arms reach up overhead. If you're nurturing your back, stay here. If you'd like a little more challenge, lean back just an inch or two. Let your core do the work of holding you here. And then from a neutral spine, everybody bring your hands to your sides. Point your toes nice and hard, so they're just like you're trying to get your big toes to touch the floor. Weight in the hands. Lift your hips up. Come into Purvottanasana or incline plank. Feel the muscles in the back of your body strong. And release. With a tall spine, take a hold of the back of the knees. Bring your knees into your chest. Squeeze. Give yourself a hug here. Another little seed-like position, chin to chest. Stretch the back of your neck. Deep breaths. And then let's find a tall spine. Hold your right knee in, extend your left leg. I'm going to take a twist to the right. So the right arm will lift up and spin behind us. You can leave your left hand on the knee. You can hug the knee, or maybe even slide the elbow to the outside. Press through a tall spine and breathe out as you look over your back shoulder. Close your eyes and feel the work of wringing out, of cleansing, of emptying. When we wring out a sponge of all that dirty water, it's receptive, it's ready to receive clean, fresh water. So let's cleanse, let's release all the dark, all the used up energy, allowing the possibility of new and fresh. Let's make our way back to center. Easing that leg straight. Find your tall spine neutral and bend your left knee. Keeping the spine tall, the left arm circles up and back. Lengthen on the inhale, twist on the exhale. Close your eyes and feel that compression, which is the wringing out, the cleansing. The emptying, opening a new space full of possibility. And come back to center. Bring the soles of your feet together, butterfly. Again, we'll start this one in a place that's safe and healthy for everyone's back. So if you're dealing with any back pain today or injury, sit up on a pillow, hold on to your ankles and stay tall. Stay right here. You might press a little bit on your inner thighs, but keep your spine upright. If you'd like to go a little deeper and your back feels happy and healthy today, the feet come out a little bit and we'll round over the legs. You can also slide your hands underneath your ankles, palms flat on the ground, tortoise pose, so the legs are kind of pressing down on the arms. You can just curl in on yourself or close your eyes. Each exhale is a cleansing, a release. This room that I'm sitting in right now, a month ago, was full of tools and storage and just junk, stuff that we'd accumulated for 25 years. You couldn't even move in this space. And after a major effort of cleansing and purging, it is now a white space full of possibility. We can move anything into this space now that we want, create here. So what space would you like to create in your life? Go ahead and release this pose, hug the knees together, and let's roll down onto our backs. We've been rounded a bunch in this practice today, so just let yourself lay flat on your back for a minute. Let everything reset, arms overhead. Stretch your body long in two directions. Take some deep breaths here. Just feel the length and the space of a body that has been kind of compressed and folded. We're going to move into something called banana pose. So you're going to take your right heel to the right edge or corner of your mat. Just kind of feel that with your heel. Your hips stay where they are. Left ankle crosses over the right ankle. And then interlace your hands. Bring your fingers toward the corner of your mat, top corner, but keep your hips where they are. So your body is in a sideways bend. And then just breathe into that space in the left, the contraction in the right. Let things open. Float your thumbs and your head back to center. Uncross your legs. Left heel feels for the left corner of your mat. Draw the right leg over so the hips stay where they are. And then start to bring your fingers upwards to the left, a side bend. Your body's making the shape of a banana here on your mat. And breathe into what you find here. Be aware of where breath moves in your body in the shape. And ease your way back to center. Bend your knees, place your feet by your hips, arms sweep down beneath you. Come up into bridge pose, an opening across the hips that have been contracted and closed. You can interlace your hands or just press your hands into the mat, but lift your hips high. Let's exaggerate breath here. Let's take our deepest breath so far into the front of the body. And slowly release. Hips down. Let your heels both feel for the corner edges of your mat. Turn your palms up. Maybe your hands a little wider than the edges of your mat. Turn your head right and left and find that sweet spot on the back of your head. Let your shoulders come to the earth. Empty your belly. Adjust your hips so they feel even. Feel your calves on the mat and your toes maybe flopping open. You can kind of wiggle your feet a little bit until the feet just flop open. Pause here and be aware of your breath. Just observe an inhale and an exhale. An inhale and exhale. Continue in stillness, but pay attention to the exhaled breath. As you exhale, every breath releases carbon dioxide. Too much of that in the body is toxic. It's a poison, so the body knows how to let go of what it doesn't need. And in its absence is the possibility for oxygen to come in. Each breath invites something new. Exhale the old. Inhale the new, the fresh, the life of oxygen. In the most slow and tender way you can muster, please begin the passage to lying on your right side. Curling up on your right side in a tiny little ball once again. We call this baby pose. It's the pose of new beginnings. Shavasana, corpse pose, we die to the past. And baby pose, we awaken to this new moment. So just like when you were that tiny microscopic dot, here you are held with all possibility. Bring that with you to your seat. And let your hands come close to your heart, eyes closed. Surrender to the force that allows tiny acorns to become giant oak trees. The force that turns a tiny seed into a blooming flower. The force that turns a microscopic dot into a human being called you. Today, my friends, may we stand in the possibility that being patient brings. Can we wait here with patience as life unfolds around us in its time, trusting? Thank you so much for showing up for yourself and for the world today. Namaste.